Yeah, you're good.
Good morning, everyone. Let's try that. There we go. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. First, big thank you to the center for hosting this breakfast today. So we'll get started today. We don't have a whole lot on the agenda. I want to introduce Ms. LaShonda Garnes. She's going to give you some updates and some awesome information, some of which you have on the table. And then we'll get into some updates from me and the city. So, Ms. LaShonda.
Good morning. Good morning. As Councilmember Johnson stated, I am LaShonda Garnes, and I work with Wichita State University in the Public Policy and Management Center.
And we're glad to have you back.
I am glad to be back. It is awesome to be around those that have really grown you up, right? Over at the Public Policy and Management Center, I serve as the Community Development Manager, and in that role, I am responsible for quite a few different things around community engagement, facilitation, strategic planning, capacity building within organizations and across our communities, as well as program evaluation and development. Our work stretches across the state of Kansas. I have been fortunate to come back and get to work on projects that directly impact District 1, so I'm really excited about coming back into the neighborhoods and getting back into the community. Back in 2014, we developed what we call the Shopping Neighborhood Coalition. The coalition was designed to create a bridge between Wichita State and the community, identifying opportunities and resources to get back in the community and to bring the community onto campus. And so there was a lot of work that was done at Fairmount Park and in the Fairmount Neighborhood Association when we had the brutal attack in the park. So we were out and we did some assessments and some surveying and some work around creating safe neighborhoods and safe communities, and really worked directly with that neighborhood association to start to change the perception and the idea and to address some of their concerns. Following that work, the Shocker Neighborhood Coalition then went into a healthy lifestyle initiative, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. So last year was our first year for the program, and in that program what we did was we created an 8-week fitness series, health and fitness series. We've designed some pedestrian walking signs that we'll be installing in 2019, and we also hosted the first 5K walk run in District 1 on this year, the first year of our program. During the fitness series, we had about 125 unique participants. And what that fitness series consisted of was we had an instructor and navigators who were out on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. helping individuals learn how to navigate the assets that are in our community. They also were preparing for the 5K run that we had in July. We had individuals that had some health issues that participated in the program. I'm happy to tell you that we had one gentleman who was recovering from a stroke. And he was on a walker when he started our program. And just over 6 weeks ago, we learned that he is out in the park walking without a walker today and continuing this process. So we are really excited about that work and recognize that there is an opportunity for us to continue to engage the community in a very distinct and unique way around Shocker neighborhoods. And so while we were intentional on that first year of really making sure we understood what we were getting into, we really focused in on the Fairmount Neighborhood Association. But what we learned is that when we did the 5K walk, we had 140 participants. Of the 140, 50% of them were from shopping neighborhoods. The other 50%, we touched over 26 zip codes and 10 other cities. Why that's important is that provided us with the opportunity for them to look at our community with a different lens. They were able to see that it is safe in our community. They were able to see the assets that we are happy about and proud of in our community. They were able to see that it is okay to come into our community, that we are welcoming, we have camaraderie, we have togetherness, we have family, we have support, we have the systems necessary to have strong communities. And so I am very excited being a product of District 1 in the sense of coming in and being able to really get to the grassroots initiatives and to the people, to see so many people willing to come in, willing to step out of their comfort zone and come and be a part of what we're doing in Shocker neighborhoods. And so as we are ready to move into year 2, we are opening up our approach and really focusing on all the communities that hub the university. So we have reached out to every neighborhood association that is from Oliver over to 135, 29th Street over to 13. Every one of the active neighborhood associations I have made contact with in some form to invite them to be a part of what's happening through Shocker neighborhoods. We kicked off our first activity on Thursday night at Atwater. We had about 20 people come out. If you have not liked us on Facebook, please do at Shocker Neighborhood Coalition. That is where we post all of our information about what's happening. On your tables, you'll see a flyer that looks like this. We are taking a different approach in year 2 to make sure that we have a touch point every single month, because our goal is to make sure that we create some sustainable activities that people can do on their own, they can do if we're there, if we're not there, and so that people understand that Shocker Neighborhoods is about a lifestyle change. It is not about the program, it's not about the initiative, it is about making sure that we provide the community with tools that will help them make lifestyle changes so that it is a lasting impact and not temporary. So we had our kickoff event on Thursday at Atwater. Thank you to the center for that. And what we are doing is we're hosting a hydration and activity challenge. I have the actual trackers. I'll leave them at the front if you want to participate in the activity. The activity is free. What we're asking for you to do December 1st through March 31st is to exercise twice a week. You pick the time, you pick the activity, you pick the place. It's all up to you. And record it. We're also asking you to drink 64 ounces of water every day, right? And if you turn in your tracker with 8 activities, you'll be placing the raffle at the end of each month. So on the last day of every month, you can drop off your tracker if you have 8 activities logged at Atwater, Lynette Woodard, or you can email them to me, and all of that information is on the tracker. And we will put you in a drawing at the end of each month, and then we'll do some rah-rah, right, and celebrate those who have participated in the activity. So why did we start so early? We're trying to get before all of the New Year resolutions, and we're trying to keep you longer than when it all dies in February. So our program goes through December through March, and December we'll also have a conference call about being active in your home. So we'll have 2 calls, one at noon, one at 7. The goal is to provide you with tips on how to be active in your home. Again, this is a lifestyle change, and so a lot of the things we want to provide are about sustainability and making sure that you know you have access to resources to maintain a healthy lifestyle. In March, we're going to do speed dating about barriers to healthy lifestyles and have some professionals in the space. In April, we'll reveal the new wayfinding signs. In May, we'll kick off our 12-week health and fitness series. In June, we will start the series with all of the walking sessions being on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So when you start seeing a lot of people in the neighborhoods, it's the Shocker neighborhood taking the streets over again. In July, we'll have our 5K walk, and then August we'll come back and think about how do we do things next year. What is sustainable? How do we do that in a way that the community is starting to become strong and healthy, and that we are building families, we are building communities in the process of doing that work. So all of the information, again, is on social media, on Facebook, Shocker Neighborhood Coalition. You can always look at our website. My email is on the flyer. My phone number is on the website, all of that good stuff. So if you have questions about what we're doing, by all means, I'll be here through the next meeting. Feel free to stop me and ask any questions that you may have. But we would encourage you, I encourage you to get engaged in this process, getting engaged in this activity. If nothing else, like us on Facebook, share it on Facebook for those that may not be here today, but may need to do some things to change their healthy lifestyle. So again, I thank you for the space on your agenda this morning and for the support of Councilmember Johnson as we continue to move efforts forward.
Are we gonna do questions afterwards?
No, you can ask questions now.
Quick question, so
Yeah.
you're into community development for WSU?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
are there any programs as far as the community goes to help maybe bring USD 259 kids to WSU for their post-secondary education? Are those, any of those programs active?
So there are other programs that work on the connectivity between USC 259 and post-secondary education that are not coming out of our shop. We are looking for opportunities to be very intentional with those that live in the Shocker neighborhoods this year and developing some partnerships between us, the Boys and Girls Club, Lynette Woodard, and Atwater on how to address some of the disconnect between getting across Hillside. So we're very aware of it and cognizant, but we're trying to do it in a way that it is sustainable and that we don't lose the connection piece. So we are working collectively with those entities to try to figure out what that looks like. I will tell you, the year before, there was a partnership between our division and Lynette Woodard, and we did some summer youth programming that connected them to the university. So we're looking to see how we can expand that and make it a little bit more broader so that we have more children that we impact.
So this kind of piggyback, and you're right, Fairmont Coalition was selected back in 2014 as a pilot, to try and do community engagement in here. Whatever lessons we learned from that are gonna be expounded and used across the other surrounding communities. So as the other side, Hillside, to bypass on, you know, 35, that was in 2014 that was in here. And so that project ended here, but it was only a 3-year grant, $3,000, $300,000 about 58. But the surrounding communities and neighborhood associations and stuff that were asked to come and participate, give input, when you ask them, they haven't heard any more feedback. Only, we do things in the park, recreational, but Wichita State's mission statement is the improvement of education, culture, and economic development. I understand health is important, but also jobs and education needs to be communicated. So maybe the message for you to take back is that they need to re-engage that group. Let's hear those outcomes and what they're gonna do with the plan to incorporate that throughout the rest of the year.
So I will tell you that me coming on to the Public Policy and Management Center, one of the tasks that I have been given is to re-engage the Shocker Neighborhood Coalition as a whole to talk about those very things that you mentioned. That will happen in the first quarter of 2019. But again, it's about me still trying to get some of the education of what occurred during that time frame with all of the transitioning with Ted leaving, Daryl leaving, and then me coming aboard. And so there were some things that we had to do because we are required, and now there are the things that we must do that we've talked about and promised to the community, and that's what we'll start looking at in the first quarter of 2019.
Okay, so bring us up to the next breakfast.
I won't tell you that in January or December, but I will come back and provide community updates as we have them so that they're effective and I'm not just up here talking about small things. I would like to talk about the bigger picture when I come to January. All right, again, thank you so much for your time this morning.
So I didn't have my my agenda with me before we got started, but if we could, I'm sure you all heard the news. We lost President George H.W. Bush. Give a moment of silence for him and his family this morning as our former president. Thank you all for that. So next on our agenda, we've got some more awesome information. We have Ms. Aida and Mr. Mason coming to talk to us about volunteer crosswalk painting and some other awesome things here in the community. So you all come on. And if we move this mic stand down here, will that be an issue for anyone? Sure.
You're fine.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. Some stairs.
Appreciate that. Good morning, everybody. First of all, thanks for letting us come talk. Saeed and I are here to talk about some stuff we have going on down at the Preventive Medicine Public Health Department at KU Med.
You're so tall, it might get him to grab the mic so you can hold it up.
I was hoping I was going to be tall and loud.
Yeah. It might go up further.
There we go. I'm in grad school. I figured it out. There we go. All right. So what we're doing earlier on this year, we got.
in front of the mic.
I'm not used to it so much. Is that better? All right, fantastic. So earlier on this year, our student organization, the Masters of Public Health Student Organization, collaborated with the Wichita City Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Council, and we went through some old data collection techniques from 2009 to 2016, and we noticed over that time, we saw a drastic increase in what we're seeing with pedestrian crashes from vehicles, bicyclist crashes from vehicles, and even some increases in fatalities from that. So what we're looking to do is improve crosswalks community-wide, because we're looking at about 96% of our crosswalks need a repaint or some sort of love somewhere. But we're thinking that might be our quickest way to use community resources, use some of this community identity that you guys already have, mobilize it out into the community, and use teams to repaint some of these crosswalks that need some attention. So we really didn't get our public affairs office to give us our flyers back in time for this meeting, but we have been going out to individual neighborhood association meetings and talking to different people about their individual neighborhoods. Now, if you're here representing a different neighborhood, you're more than welcome to come talk to us after this, and we'd love to get your input about your specific neighborhood, or we will be happy to give you our information as well. Otherwise, we'll be coming out all next semester for the rest of this semester, handing out documentation to all your respective neighborhood associations, and whenever there's larger meetings like this as well.
Hello everyone, my name is Taida Abidu, and yes, I am also from the KU Med Department of Preventive Medicine and Public Health. And I'm here to speak as a research assistant. I actually have a project, I'm project manager of an upcoming initiative and intervention that focuses on breast and cervical cancer. Unfortunately, in the United States, African American women are 1.5 to 2 times more likely to die from breast and cervical cancer. And our job, we're trying to get more people's input on the issue. So there's an opportunity for anyone who would like to learn about breast and cervical cancer screening, or would like to help with an intervention coming up in 2019. The project is called HEAL, and it's a faith-based intervention. And we're going to have pastors who will lead, but we would like to have a lot of our women in our neighborhoods input on how to create it, to hear how you'll get to churches, how you feel about the clinics and the help and resources that are current in Seward County. And to do that, we have focus groups. We will have 4 that are coming up, and all are welcome to sign up. I have a flyer that will be in the front, as well as a sign-in sheet for anyone who's interested already. And those who would like to come, you will be rewarded with your time and effort with a $30 stipend. So it's not all waste of time. So eligibility, we would like to reach out to African American women, but if you are a male, unfortunately, males also can get breast cancer. So if you're a male or would like to support a spouse who is susceptible to breast or cervical cancer, you are more than welcome to come to this focus group. We would like to have a Sedgwick County resident, 21 years and older, because unfortunately those who are 21, that's when you start the cervical cancer screening process, and as time goes on, eventually breast cancer screening. And we would like to have you provide an hour and a half of time, because these focus groups, even though they're long, we like to get as much information as possible. And again, this is going to be a faith-based and academic type of intervention, and we would like to build it from you rather than have it from clinics or existing guys. We would like to make it for Sedgwick County residents. So if you have any questions, please feel free to talk to me afterwards, and don't hesitate to get my contact, and I also have a sign-in sheet if anyone is interested. for listening to Mason and I, and we hope to hear from you all soon. Thank you.
Alrighty, before I get into all the stuff I have, I want to bring up Captain Moore and Lieutenant Aldridge, just to introduce themselves. Y'all know most of you know them, but some of you may not. So just want to bring them up, introduce themselves, then we'll get into some other updates.
Thanks, sir. All right, for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Captain Lim Moore. I've been with the department for about 28 years now. Been a detective, worked in many different areas, all the police department, the exploited missing child unit, financial crimes. Worked in the larceny section. I was undercover for a couple of years in the Special Investigations Bureau. Worked out Patrol South as a sergeant, supervisor, watch commander down there. Then was promoted to lieutenant and was trained at the training academy. I put through 3 training classes. The officers are still working here on the streets right now. And then promoted to captain and worked in property crimes, and now currently at Patrol North up at 21st Street, feels like where you all know that is. A little bit about myself. I'm not from Wichita, but I've been here for the past 34 years. Moved here back in high school from St. Joseph, Missouri, and really enjoyed living in such a diverse community where I came from. The population wasn't too diverse, but you didn't really see the segregation, in that population, so it wasn't a negative thing. It's just that you didn't have the diversity that you have here in the Wichita community. I love doing the job that I do. Many of you have seen me at community meetings and or community events. I like this uniform. It's like wearing a piece of skin on my body. So you'll see me out there in the communities. If you have events that you have going on, please email me. My picture's on the website of the police department, and I will be glad to show up and show my face and or have my personnel show up. I'm going to hand it over to my community policing lieutenant, Lieutenant Aldridge, and she'll be able to tell you a little bit about herself.
Hello. I'm Sarah. I was here last time. I work for Captain Moore at Patrol North. I'm the community policing lieutenant, but I'm also the second shift supervisor. So the officers that come on at 11 o'clock in the morning and work till 9 o'clock answering 911 calls, I'm responsible for them as well. I've been on about 22 years. Lori, I saw her earlier walking around. She was one of my neighborhood presidents with Uptown when I was a community policing officer out of Patrol East. So I started up at Patrol North about 22 years ago, working in the middle of the night, answering 911 calls, and I've been very happy to be back up here for a little over 3 years. I spent a long time as a detective in various sections, including sex crimes, so I investigated domestic violence cases, and those are very, very, very important to me. So in my capacity over the last 3 years, I've been a part of the Shocker Neighborhood Coalition. I've been a Fairmount stakeholder with that as well, so I look forward to working more with LaShonda on that. So anyway, thank you.
Real quick, can I get a show of hands of who is not going to be here at the 10:30 meeting? Everyone's going to be here. So some of you may be leaving. Okay, I'll give you some quick stats real quick. I'm going to repeat these stats a little bit later, but I just want to make sure that the ones that are here for the District 1, breakdown of the statistics for the year up to date compared to last year. I'm giving to you real quick. For the homicides, we're up to 41 homicides for the city here in the city of Wichita, and that's been pretty steady. Meaning it's held its position for a while now, which is it's sort of calming. Still sad that we have that many, but here in District 1, we only have 4 out of those 41. 4, so those are really good numbers, and it shows that 3 of those have been cleared, meaning the community spoke, witnesses talked, and we were able to clear 3 of those. One of them hasn't, but they're still working on it. So that's pretty good numbers for your district here. As far as robbery, there have been 550 robberies for the entire city that were documented, and here in this district, only 131. So a fourth of it. So the breakdown, the numbers aren't too bad. And then as far as aggravated assaults, including domestic violence, gangs, these are assaults involving someone getting injured, threatened, using some kind of force. There's 2,294 that have occurred in the city. Only 616 of them are in District 1. So the number's still there, it's still high, it's a fourth, but, you know, it's not overwhelming to show that, okay, District One has all the crime. No, there's a good balance there. But like I said, the homicides, it's a huge drop. Last year, there were 9 homicides in District One at this time, so there's only 4 right now. There were 9, and then the year before that, yeah, it was 9. It was 9 last year, and then there's 4 this year this time. So, and then for the total year, last year there were 11 total for District 1. Okay. Someone have their hand up? We're good? All right.
No, on your homicides, you said it was 41.
41 for the entire city, yes.
Yeah, how many were solved?
32 have been cleared so far.
32?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is really good stats for the Wichita Police Department because it shows that we're working with our community. You go to other places and you can go look up Chicago when you leave here, and their solve rate, it's not there. You know, and I'm not saying I'm not bagging on that city, and because there are a lot of good personnel communities there, but I'm just saying we do a really good job with the connection that we have in our community. And when we watch television and we hear about some of the things that the officers are doing within those other communities and other states, you know, we really should be patting ourselves on the back, not just the police department, but you as a community, because you have attended the meetings, you have listened to each other, and you have addressed those concerns with your council member, and the council members have stepped up and said, let's make this happen, let's keep this communication going, and this network that we have, you know, continuing, so that way we have a good solve rate, so that way we have minimal, you know, issues in our community. And we still have them, but believe me, continue to work together, we're gonna keep them solved, we're gonna resolve them. Thank you.
Captain Moore didn't mention that he was my dare officer. All right, so I've got a lot of things. Hopefully I don't miss anything, but I should have written down. So, this has been a great year. I had the honor to serve you all as a councilman for District 1. We've got a few things coming up, so you all know that Councilmember Meister won his election for county commission, so that seat is vacant now. He's still in office, still be in office until he's sworn in as a county commissioner, but there is a process to fill that seat. So right now, candidates looking to become the District 2 council member need to get a petition. Our city clerk has one, and they need 100 signatures in District 2. Then they'll turn that in, and then they'll go before the District Advisory Board for District 2. The District Advisory Board, if there's more than 4 candidates, will vote on their top 4. Those 4 will come in and interview with us council members, and then we'll vote on appointing somebody to fill the remainder of Councilmember Meissner's term, which is about a year. So that's that process now. If you know anyone who lives in District 2 that you think would be great on the city council, go ahead and poke them in the side and let them know, go get those signatures. And then they can go talk to the District Advisory Board. Some of the other things we've done this year as a city, so you all heard about RAD, Rental Assistance Demonstration. What that is a $60 million opportunity to rebuild all of our public housing. So tearing the housing down to the foundation and the frame and rebuilding it. And we're gonna do all of them, every unit, every multifamily unit, the 2 towers we have, and all of our single family units. That should happen over the next 2 years. And there are some challenges of moving folks around while homes are being torn down and rebuilt, but we will have all new, basically, public housing in the city of Wichita, and I think that's awesome. We were able to get that accomplished back in February. And again, I'll stop every couple items to see if there's any questions for me on that.
Brandon, I know the
Every
city of
couple
Wichita
items.
County is slumlord, they have been.
Testing.
Brandon, I was just saying that I've known the city of Wichita County is slumlord, so I'm happy to see this. And what did you say was gonna happen to everybody who's gonna be kicked out of their houses?
I didn't say everybody was getting kicked out. I said there would be some challenges moving folks around while some homes are being torn down and rebuilt.
So you all are gonna arrange that for them?
The housing department will arrange that.
Okay.
All right, I'll take questions now then.
Okay, it's just the public housing. Yes, I talked to a lady about a couple of weeks ago that lives in the one on McLean Boulevard. And she said that, I guess y'all been talking about it for, I think, maybe a year or so. And she's like, they're telling them just all kind of different stories on what they gonna do with them and this and that, and, well, she's been living in that one, I think, almost 30 years, and so, she just was wondering, why they're gonna tear down the whole building, and she just was saying like, maybe the apartments themselves seem to be fine, but like the elevators and maybe the stairwell and stuff, you
So
know.
does she live in the building on Riverview?
No, she lives on McLean, the McLean Manors. That's
So
where she lives
all
at.
of our public housing is out of date and
Uh-huh.
needs to be fixed up. Even if
Yes.
it looks good, you know, that was a nice fresh coat of paint, some improvements just to look good. They
Yes.
all need to be rebuilt.
Okay, so, you're tearing down all of them, are you gonna just rebuild the ones you got now? Or, are you gonna take and add more?
So we are keeping all the units we have now.
Yes.
And we're tearing those down to the foundation and the frame and rebuilding those. We're not adding it.
Oh, okay, and then, so once you, will the public housing be open again?
Can I take that? So right now, the Section 8 list is open right now. It will close soon if you know anyone that needs housing and think they qualify. It takes 5 minutes to apply, know your income, your date of birth, your social of everybody in the house. Not every home is gonna, the 4 walls are not gonna come down in every home, but some of those apartments, they are coming down, all the way down. And like some will get more insulation in them, some will, you know, the structure, like, I know one house, they're gonna knock down to make it more open space for the living room and kitchen. You know, like that wall, that unnecessary interior wall is gonna come down to make more space. But each person got a letter to tell them what's gonna happen at each of their sites. So refer her to read her letter and call the housing department. They have multiple meetings telling them the next step.
The public housing right now?
The public housing, Section 8 is open, public housing is closed, and they're both under the Wichita Housing Department.
Okay, thank you.
All right, last one before more, Mr. Barnes.
So real quickly, I think a lot of people in here are probably homeowners in here, I'm not sure how many are Section 8s. When you talk about public housing in here, we kind of have a hard time getting a picture of what those places are, the locations in here, so you might just pull out the public housing, and how that differs from landlords in Section 8.
So public housing is City of Wichita owned.
And where are some of those in our?
I cannot give out all of those locations.
You went 6721.
So there are some, there's 100 or so units in District 1, actually more than 150.
Yeah.
And then there's some others around the city. Every district has some form of public housing.
And we can't tell you where people live, because then you are knowing their private information about, oh, they getting assistance, she getting assistance.
Right,
well-
But if you see it, but we cannot tell you an exact address for their privacy.
No, but I assume that a lot of these are like apartment complexes or
No.
residences or,
No, they're
we don't know
single
what they
family
look
homes.
like.
Single family homes.
Just please, speak into the microphone.
The
Guess I'm a little
hold the
taller.
microphone so you're talking into the front of it. But unfortunately, people just don't do that.
Duly noted.
Is this better? All right, thank you, Mr. Hall.
So move on, I'll give probably 3 more and then some more questions. So you all know we have secured a baseball team. They are coming from New Orleans, and the city will be able to participate in naming that team, so they won't be the Wichita Baby Cakes. But we'll be able to come up with some creative name for the team, and you know, you saw now that the stadium's gone. Lawrence Dumont is no longer there. A new stadium will be built. Some of this will come before the council Tuesday. I know there's some controversy around that, so I've got a lot to read before Tuesday, but I've been hearing from folks already about who may end up building the stadium. But that, for the most part, is all done, and I think it'll be pretty cool on that side of the river once that happens. You all have maybe heard of Project Wichita. So Project Wichita on the internal side is wrapping up for the most part. There will be a report that comes out, I believe, in January that kind of goes through what all the teams came up with, the community engagement, and reports out on that, the different items. I'm pretty excited about what I've seen. I think it's gonna be great, and I hope that you all are excited when it comes out. But it's been a great process. There's a lot of energy around Wichita, and there's a lot of energy around community. So that'll be something to look forward to in January, but it's been a really good process. Law enforcement wise, you all know last year I talked about some of the shortages. There's still shortages, as far as officers are concerned. We need more officers, but there's been a number of promotions this year, Captain Moore being one of them. There's been a number of retirements as well. There's been some policy changes, new captain wise, we've got Captain Moore at North Patrol, Captain Nicholson at East Patrol, and Captain Nolte at South Patrol. So those have been some great things. And I just want to continue to highlight that staffing studies show that we needed 49 or 47 or so officers. Again, that was to be at the bottom of staffing for a city our size. So we'd love to be at the bottom, and that's how many we need. If we really want enough officers to do community policing and not get in vehicles and just go call the entire shift, we need many more than 49. And I've had some time sitting with the captain who actually didn't know I was a council member at the time, and I just watched. And he's on 2 phones in the radio trying to coordinate. We're short officers. We really need them, but it's going to take the public to really put pressure on us to make sure there's funds there to hire more officers. We do have some issues with Brady Giglio, so our district attorney kind of defines that in a certain way that hurts our hiring of officers. So I'll give you an example. I have a friend that I went to friends with. He ran track. He stole some shirts when he was 17. He can't get hired as an officer because they won't allow him to testify because he could be compromised because of that. We all do dumb things when we're 17 or younger, maybe some older. So that should not be something that knocks him from being an officer because he'd be a great officer. He's a mentor. So we have some work to do in talking with our district attorney about interpreting that a little different to allow us to have some of those officers with experience. I'll get one more and then I'll stand for some questions. So we all know about, we're on 11th Street. We see those 105-foot things outside. So Westar had made a commitment in a press conference outside actually to have a community engagement team go back out to the community, talk to folks, and see about where they can invest some money. I was on that community engagement team. There was 14 of us. And for the last 2 or so months, we've had different meetings. We went out to the community, engaged several folks. Between the 14 of us, we were supposed to talk to about 95 to 100 people. I went and actually walked the transmission line route, knocked on some doors, talked to folks, talked to kids, went over to state and talked to the 4th and 5th grade ambassadors to get some of their ideas. Our last meeting was Tuesday night. Had a really good discussion, some really good ideas about investing into our community. So right now, Westar is going to take back those ideas, look into the feasibility of them. So how much will it cost them? Does it seem like it's sustainable? There were some ideas that were really good, but it's kind of a one and done thing, and I'm hoping that's not what they do. We need some sustainable, impactful things in our community. So we gave them that sentiment, our thoughts, our ideas, the community's ideas, and now they're taking that back to look at how viable is it. They're probably gonna start calling folks, some of the names of folks that we submitted to see if they're ready, if they really do have the capacity to do what was proposed. And then sometime, probably in January, because Christmas is coming up, they're gonna reach back out to us, let us know what their thoughts were. We'll probably give our final, we like this or we don't like this to them, and then that'll come out to the community. So that's been a long process. Just a little more detail. When I first heard about it, I know Representative Finney, who should have acknowledged earlier, is in the house. Representative Finney had brought this attention publicly. As soon as I saw it, I went to Mr. Sherman and Mr. Beasley, and my first question was, how do we move these poles? And we went out. We walked the transmission line. We came up with 5 different alternate routes, but the cost to Westar was a lot, which at the time I didn't care about. But when you look at passing that cost down to the ratepayer, we don't know what that would have done here in Wichita, and I really didn't want to hurt people in that way. So they ended up coming up with this investment idea, which, we'll see what comes of that. So with that, do I have any questions so far? Mr. Wright.
I've been being proposed this past week on the city considering privatizing the water department, and secondly, using this company that got into trouble with the water in Flint Hill. Is
So
there any basis?
if I could answer that at the end of the updates.
Okay.
But in short, since you asked it, somebody might leave. There are 2 possible companies right now one of those companies is using a company out of Flint and Pittsburgh that is having water issues. I wouldn't say that the city is, going with that company. Right now, there's still some evaluation going on, and that'll come back before the council here pretty soon. And then I can answer the rest of that after that. Are there any questions about updates I've given so far?
Brandon, on the polls in here, is it possible that when in your updates or your emails that you send out here, that you might can list that committee of 14? Some of these, I was at the meeting at Grant, and so I heard that, they asked you to sign up for a conversation with West Star or to be contacted in here. I signed up then. I've left messages with West Star and emails as well. I haven't heard anything, and no one reached out to me about ideas or suggestions on it at all here. So maybe if you would post those 14 people or members in here who are reaching out to the communities in here and the contact information, we can reach them with our information and ideas. Because right now, that's 14 people in here. We're going to have to reach 190 something others in here. I'm sure I should have been caught up in some of that.
Do you have a poll in your front yard?
Got a poll right over there.
Do you have a poll in your front yard? So,
But why not?
so Mr. Sherman had, and Mr. Beasley had said they reached out to everyone who has a pole in their front yard. Those who may not have a pole in the front yard and are impacted could reach out to them. If he has not responded to you, I can let him know that. But judging from what he had shown and talked about, they have settled most of the cases that folks who have poles in their yard. And I'll tell Mr. Sherman to reach back out to you.
Well, you just kind of answered one of my questions, because that only affects the people that, has the poles in their yard, right? And so with them putting the poles up, I mean, are they trying to like, bring the cost to the consumer, or it doesn't affect the consumer at all, or I don't understand that part?
So their
I mean,
thinking was to improve the service.
yes, okay,
So
so,
the thinking of how it looked was not there.
oh, okay, but it's the consumer cost and nothing, just what the poles in
No, the
their
hope
yard.
was to improve service enough to where there wouldn't be outages over here that
Yes,
if there's snow and ice, it wouldn't
yeah,
affect it.
okay.
When I contacted Westar, they said our, bills, they should not.
Go up. Yes, they should.
That was part of their whole rate scheme that they tried to put through earlier, where they were gonna raise our rates $54 million.
Oh,
And the Kansas Corporation Commission denied that.
yes,
But
yes,
that was what they were including, was
Yeah.
the transmission.
okay,
That was part of what they said it would pay
okay,
for. They
yes,
do not need more money.
yes.
Brandon, is it possible to know the names of the committee? Because like you're saying, other people would like to give input, and it would be kind of nice to know who's representing the people, so that we just have an idea of who's at the front talking on our behalf. I was able to submit some of my ideas because somebody asked me, but everybody else probably wasn't asked. So it would be nice, like you said, to publicly say who's on the committee, so we know who's representing the people. And also, I would like to know, if everybody else would like to know, what were the ideas that were presented? Let the community know what ideas are on the forefront that are supposed to benefit us. Even though I may not have a pole in my yard, I live in District 1, and there are no reports in the United States, but there are reports in other countries about these poles. So I think all of us should have a say in what goes on in our community if Westar wants to make it right. Well, that's a great answer. Can you give us the names and can you give us an update?
I will reach out to Don and see if they're okay with me releasing the names.
Oh.
And
And what about the ideas?
so the issue I have with giving out the ideas is I could tell you 40 or so of the ideas that came out, and some of them may seem awesome and some of them may seem terrible. But what happens if everyone rallies around something that's not gonna happen?
You won't know that.
Well, we're not gonna rally because we're not.
What if everyone says lights is the greatest thing we could do over here, and that's all Westar does, because everyone says that? I can't tell you that what was submitted was some very comprehensive, impactful things. And that was what many on the committee pushed for, not something simple that Westar could easily do. And there was a lot of that submitted, some easy projects. There were some more tough things submitted. And our last meeting really focused on some of those more tough, probably more expensive and impactful things. But I'll ask them and see. Again, that report's coming out when they get done anyway. And I'm sure they'll talk about what was submitted. But again, as far as who we all talk to, some of the folks on the committee may end up letting you know on their own. But like I said, I went and talked to people who lived over here. I talked to kids who lived over here, and this was the area I focused on.
And really who you talk to, I mean, it is important, but I think really the more important thing is what came out of the meetings, what are the ideas at the forefront? And we all can't rally around an idea because we are part of the 14 committee. I just think it would be nice to know what the people that are representing us presented to us.
I'll ask them. I mean, I released a statement, I talked to them, and they said that was cool, so I'll ask them.
Well, to piggyback off of that, not necessarily knowing, the 14 individuals, but is the conversation still being had, right? It's not gonna.
No, those meetings are,
They're done.
Westar is looking into the feasibility of all the ideas submitted.
I just wonder why there wasn't just a line for the public to contact them directly instead of leaving it up to 14 designees.
So
Like
Mr.
there's
Sherman
like an
did
email
put
line.
his email and phone number out and did say reach out to him. Now, some of that was for folks who were impacted directly, but
Yeah,
could
because
also
the
send an
conversations I've
idea.
been having
Good morning. I concur with everything everybody has said, particularly with Westside not getting back with everyone. But I want to keep in mind, one of the suggestions I had too, and I think it's very important, although you may not have a pole in your yard, if you're looking at a 105 feet pole every day across the street, you are impacted. I think one of the main things for Westside does anything, they need to compensate those people, even though they may not have a pole. Right now, they're not even returning their phone calls. And before Weststar goes out and wants to get all like, we're doing so much for the community, let's see what you're doing for the community. Take care of those people that have been impacted first. That should be number one priority on that list for anybody. Recently, I had a meeting with some Weststar people, and they wanted to know my frank opinion, and I couldn't hide my frank opinion. They asked me, what did I think about this committee, and did I think that it's going to be helpful? I said, to be quite honest, how can it be helpful when the people that are directly impacted are not even invited or at the table? So how the hell are they going to have a voice? So when you have that, we have to make these companies accountable, and we have to speak up with them, and they just can't select who's going to represent us. Because they don't live in our community, and I bet you the majority of those people do not live in 67214, let alone live on the 11th Street or the 13th Street or Hydraulic or Mossman. I live in 1754 North Madison. I cannot go down 13th Street or Hydraulic without seeing those poles and just get pissed off all over again. Every day is something that we have to live with. 10 years from now, 30 years from now, my children, my grandchildren, we're going to have to look at those big old monuments. I don't know if any of you drove down I-35. Only thing you see is a sea of 105-foot poles. That's going to be our monument to 100 years from now for our future of this district. Another thing I think that is important for everyone to know here, in addition to holding them accountable for making sure they take care of the people here, I want to make sure that they're taken care of correctly, but also we got to do it legislatively and on policy, Senator Fausto. They should not be able to do this to another community in the future. They need to be able to have community meetings where they will actually advertise and promote, where people will come out and voice their opinions. This time they will be able to circumcise this meeting how they did it before and go directly to the people. If we would have this communication ahead of time, we wouldn't even be having this discussion today. But it's a lack of disrespect for some communities. I dare you that this would not have happened in another community. But in the future, we have got to make sure that not only Weststar, but other companies, we start talking about those motor companies and those big, we call these things, Energy Weststar, they need to make sure that the people that they are interfering with, that they have to give them notice, and in addition to the compensation, but trying to get it where we already set up a meeting come January, where we're meeting with all the utilities, not just Weststar, Electric, and KCBL, but the other ones, that they just cannot keep doing this. And so we're going to have a conversation about they've got to start providing that notification. And actually, I had drafted a bill, and I don't need a bill. Oh, sometimes we need a bill because they don't just completely listen sometimes. And they said that they, well, I was told by Weststar just last week, well, it's not intentional. It may not be intentional, but it's mismanagement. It's egregious mismanagement, and we can't keep allowing that. But sometimes when you don't have people at the table that directly represent you, this is the end result, and that needs to change. Thank you.
All right. So let me get through the rest of my updates. I've got 15 minutes. Hold on, I really got 15 minutes. Okay.
Also, we're checking your Weststar Energy bill. The name has changed. So be looking for that.
It's called Evergy. All right, let me get through the rest of this, and then we can do some Q&A before our next meeting. So, McAdams School, I intended to show you a PowerPoint slide today. So where we are right now, it seems that the consensus thus far on the council is option 3. So I'll run back through those for you. Option 1 was the plan that was approved. 3 regional water parks, 1 community pool, which is College Hill. Those regional water parks were in different parts of the city and didn't have a location for District 1. I had proposed McAdams. That was voted down. Option 2 is a $10 million water park located at McAdams, so something on the same size as Derby or a little bigger. And that, right now, yeah, that's option 2. And that would close every public pool except only reason I don't have it is because Parks changed it last minute to address something that one of the staff said, and when I found out, I said, I don't want that, let's go back to what we had the first time, so. In that, for those concerned about swimming, it keeps, 4 of the swimming lanes, but the rest of it is converted into something kids also want to display in. So all of that is being proposed, and we're working on keeping that right now. So at the moment, unless the council goes with option A, which is the most expensive, McAdams will have a swimming pool going forward. So, once I get those, designs approved to show, I will show you. Again, I wanted to do it today, but since we're going back and making sure it's what I was shown, it'll probably be January, so, and I'm sure this will come up for vote sometime late January or February. Jumping ahead, summer evening rec, so something new we did this year with summer evening rec, we're gonna continue this for the next 2 years, but we're gonna expand it. We did it at McAdams and Lynette Woodard. Lynette Woodard had Wednesdays 5 to 7, free open gym. We wanted teenagers to come in. If you were over 18, you had to pay $1, but you could come in from 5 to 7 and play at Lynette Woodard. McAdams did it, weeknights, Friday night, from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Each of those centers saw anywhere from 45 to 60 young people. And it was something we wanted to do early to curb, because I had heard that we were gonna have a lot of extra violence this year. We wanted to give young people a safe place to go. Now we also have the center as a place, but city-wise, we're gonna expand that next year to not only Lynette Woodard and McAdams, but also to Edgemore and Glenwood, so that young people in those areas can just walk over there, ride their bike, and they don't have to travel too far. So we'll be doing that in the evenings. Right now, we're setting a schedule. If I had it my way, in a perfect world, teams would have something to do every night. So we'll probably try to set it out like that. I'm gonna work with the center on when they'll be open, and that's the night the city's not, so then that way, every night something positive is going. As well as the YMCA has late night on Saturday at the North Line and South Line, and that's free to teenagers and they feed them. That's one component we're gonna do next year, is offer food. There's a lot of hungry young people in this community that may not eat, and that'll be a place for them to come get some food. So that was pretty awesome this year. Our park staff's amazing in helping out doing that. Budget wise, keep the pressure on us to make sure there's funds for what we need and what we want. And as we saw this year, we moved $1 million from roads, so next year it's supposed to be $2 million and only be $1 million in order to save the libraries, not cut arts and things like that. Honestly, we are very small. We are the perfect example of a small government model. And to me, it's not as efficient as it could be. We need more resources. If you think $580 million is a lot, I criticized the city for years. And then I got in and talked to our department directors, and I saw how little $580 million really was. And I see our CIP and how that's struggling right now. That CIP pays for a lot of the stuff that we want. We want improved roads. We want investment in infrastructure. All that delayed maintenance we had through the recession, that's the CIP. And that CIP right now, I mean, it's some resources there. But one good example is the 10th and 15th Street Bridge. That was approved some years ago for some work. We haven't seen anything happen. And so right now, there's a proposal for $1.5 million, and we don't know where that's gonna come from just yet, to put in 2 pedestrian bridges. Our district advisory board approved the pedestrian bridge at 10 and keeping the vehicular bridge at 15, which adds on another $1 million. So, as I said, I'll fight for it, but I think it's gonna end up coming back to the 2 pedestrian bridges. But you never know. You talk to McAdams and you see that's gonna happen. So, we'll try to make that happen, but we are struggling in our budget. We need some creative ways to bring in some more revenues. There are many in the community who I've received emails from that says, you know what, raise my taxes. I don't know how this room feels, but if you support it, tell us. If you don't support it, tell us. And that can be raised in 2 ways. There's the mill levy that hasn't been increased in 25 years, or that's putting the sales tax on the ballot. And the sales tax can be anywhere from 0.25%, 0.5% to 1%. 1% brings in $75 million a year. So it's something to think about. And some projects along those lines. Would you be willing to pay that? Mill levy, I said it last year when I was running, I'm gonna keep saying it, it's been 25 years, we went from cell phones being these huge suitcase things to a small device where you can see the entire world in your hand, and we haven't raised our mill levy. Cost has went up, inflation has went up, candy that I used to get for a nickel is probably $1 now, so we have to really think about it. If we want the things that the CIP invests in, we really have to think about raising the mill levy. If you raise that, it's an extra $11 per year on a house or a property worth $100,000.
Raise the mill levy.
Send us an email with what you think. That way, we know going forward what to do. We can raise the mill levy on our own for public safety, so hire more officers. Anything other than that has to go out to the public. So, again, reach out to us, let us know what you're thinking. We'll give you some road updates and a few more things, and then we can do some more Q&A. So, from Public Works, you've seen all the constructions and cones. I know a lot of folks complain, but it means progress. So, Oliver, 17th Street to 19th Street's almost done. They just need to finish up some pavement markings inside. 45th and Hillside, the south and east legs of the intersection will close again in the first quarter of next year, just to work with the railroad. We had a few issues there. As you all probably have seen, if not, go over and check out 9th Street. It's looking really good so far. It should be mostly done by Christmas. There's 2 components that won't be. So all the art will happen in the spring of next year. So there will be symbols and walk path. The mural will go up down by Hillside. There's another piece over here on Minnesota or Minneapolis. So all of that will happen in the spring. The 9th Street's looking much better than it had before, and it's almost done. So that's good. And we're also waiting. I don't know if you all knew this, but the pillars under the highway will get painted. We're having some communication issues with KDOT right now. So I heard at some point they had rejected it. So I sent a nice email to the federal level and state level back in February. Then I got the approvals I wanted. Now they're stalling again. So that's an ongoing conversation that I'm having with them to just painting it. Trying to think of how to say this.
You're under the highway.
It's not necessarily that, in my opinion. It's what it is that's getting painted. And it's just about 3 colors that mean different things to different people. Red, black, and green. I really think. So, some of the high funded work has been done and resurfaced. So on Oliver, Kellogg, Central, Woodlawn, 21st to 29th, that's been done. 21st Street, Hillside, and Yale will all be resurfaced in the spring of 2019. Neighborhood roads that have been done, Central to 13th, Washington to 135, Central to 17th, hydraulic to Hillside is done, and Kellogg to Central, 135 to Hillside is done. Douglas Design District wise, we're gonna have another public meeting with an outside firm to review what we've come up with. So some history, the Douglas Design District group really pushed this hard for me to try to move this up in the CIP to 2020 instead of 2022. It's a $6 million project. Doing that would have bumped out a whole lot of community stuff, so we kept it where it was at, but we ensured that it stayed there. And then there was some pushback from property owners on Douglas, so we met with them. To my surprise, because I thought everyone overwhelmingly supported it, I met with 40 angry people who were not happy about this. So for 2 months, we worked it out, we came to a compromise, and then the Douglas Design District really wants to see bike lanes on Douglas, which is another hurdle for us. So we're gonna get an outside firm to come look at really visioneering what Douglas is from the river, probably to Hillside or Grove. And then once we figure out what that corridor is supposed to be with community input, then we'll make a decision on how that goes. Again, a lot of this is happening this year, normally wouldn't happen until about 2021. But since it came out and the intention was there, we started working on it. Hopefully we can find some type of solution for that. Last few things, District 1 grants, the neighborhood grants, we spent probably a little more than $60,000 thus far. 124,000 is allocated on our predecessors for that. So we're getting some projects done. It's been good. We've been getting trees removed, sidewalks repaired, worked out something with deeds for houses. So if you have any of those issues, please reach out to Camilo over at Atwater. Get an application. We can get you working on that. then to name off just a few things, this year we have seen some new seats and tables at Atwater. I don't know if you noticed that, but my first 2 weeks in, I asked for some new stuff, so we got it, which I was proud about. But there's new seats at Atwater. They look really nice. If you notice, there's some new artwork at Atwater donated by Mr. Anthony Dozier. Pretty soon, we changed the ordinance with some Hyatt funds a couple weeks ago. You'll see one of those big screens that you see at Century 2. That'll be at Atwater. So all neighborhood stuff, we'll get that sent in and plugged, so when people walk in, they'll see different events going on, all of that great stuff. And thank you to Camilo on that. That was a really good idea, and I think that'll help us out. So we're doing that. This year, I have tried to increase our modes of communication. So I will admit immediately, I know I didn't do a perfect job. So my request today, if you will send emails or even with a little bit of time we have left, let me know how I can do better. So what I did a little differently is kind of what we're doing today. We've got Facebook Live. I try to do that in all of our public meetings, for more engagement on social media. I've re-engaged with a lot of churches, so I try to send updates to churches to get that in the announcements. I think that's something that we have missed. I do not have every church in this community, so if you haven't heard from me and you're at a different church, let me know. We'll add you to the list. Monthly emails go out, so our newsletter goes out. I also try to send a personal one every month to neighborhood associations. I missed this last month because my daughter was born and I got busy. We also have our phone tree, but I'm trying to find more ways to communicate with people and reach them where they're at. So even with, like I said earlier, some of the West Star stuff, I just went out and knocked doors because I don't have everybody's phone number. And not everybody knows who I am, so I keep trying to, hey, councilman, we've got issues, let me know. Want to see something done, let me know. But if you can help me with that, would love that. We were trying to work on rebuilding neighborhood associations. Some of them are struggling, some of them are doing really well. But we want to try to get more people engaged in neighborhood associations, learn the importance, and then work with them, and eventually, hopefully try to get those associations to join in and just have a really strong network of people engaged and addressing issues. So we worked on that. We slowed down a little bit. I had a really ambitious goal to get out to 8 this year, but we were really focused on building one and learning from that and try to take those lessons next year into other neighborhoods and see, plug and play and see what works. RAD was awesome. We got that done this year. I said that earlier. Some more Hyatt Fund stuff that we did. So we committed to, and there's some information for you, WSU Tech. So we put $75,000 from District 1, $100,000 from District 3 into WSU Tech to target people in District 1 and 3 and give them jobs and opportunities and training. So before we did that, because we had sat down with WSU Tech, they just kind of ran a practice mode of that. More than 40 people in District 1 went from making whatever they were making before, minimum wage, unemployed, whatnot, to a job making $50,000 with WSU Tech, just from that 8-week training. So the funds that we put toward that knocks out the majority of that tuition that you have to pay. It's $2,500. The District 1 money pays $1,500 of that. If you're getting a job at Spirit actually pays $500 of that, and you're on the hook for $500 after you get a job. So once you start making those big checks, then you got to pay back $500. And I don't think that's tough once you start making the money. It's tough up front. So we want to help out with that. WSU Tech has been a great partner. They're going to continue to target District 1 and District 3 because that was one of the things I said. We weren't just giving money. We wanted to make sure our money that came from District 1 targeted District 1. So this money will help create another 50 opportunities for folks in District 1 again to go from wherever you're making $7, $12 to $50,000 or more. If you have a felony, you can still go in through this program. So due to some FAA requirements, Spirit may not be able to hire you in this one capacity, but there's other companies down the chain that can. So people with felonies have gotten jobs. So that's been great.
Can I piggyback with you? Councilman Johnson has a folder, and in that folder is all the steps to get hired, to enroll in school. I am not giving those folders out if you, the person, are not interested. But if you know a relative who is, send them to Atwater. You can't waste this paper and this information. So inside that paper, it tells you you have to apply for financial aid. So if you know someone who says, oh, I have an old well, let's see what we can do to get your old bill in good standing, so then you can apply to go back to school. So if someone has used up all of their Pell Grant financial aid this year, they can still apply to go to WSU Tech. Don't let that stop them if someone has an old loan, because that's where most people are, oh, I got an old bill. And then they cut themselves out of an opportunity. So make sure they start with the process, and we have all this information at our Barter Center, we have our brochures, but again, I can always pay because this is money. That paper is money, that's how I'm looking at it. So let us know, they can start on their FAFSA at our computer lab, or a WSU Tech grant will come to Atwater and meet them there instead of them going all the way to the web location.
Awesome. And just to, two more things, detailing that money came from HIDE funds. Now, my predecessor had left money for 67214 for economic development, public safety, and entrepreneurship. Economic development to me is moving from $725 an hour to $50,000 a year. That helps you out quite a bit. So we used that money that was left for that. We also used the money that was left for that in helping out some more entrepreneurial things. Just to give the full story, some of you may have heard about it. Earlier this year, one of my first negative meetings I had, which now is positive